All right, what's going on, future global one plexers of Rayclast? It's your boy Belton, back here again to give you guys an update. We're doing the 1 mirror a day profit challenge this week, and as you can see, I am right about to finish. I thought it'd be cool to capture it on a live, unedited video, so I lined up some of the crafts that I've been doing throughout the process this week. Um, there's far too many techniques for and strategies for me to do in one video, but I'll slowly, do 4 or 5 in a series of videos over the upcoming days. Really appreciate the support you guys giving me over past few days. It's been a little mind blowing actually. So really looking forward to this, and just wanted to say thank you. Anyways, you can see here we just need one more mirror shard, and that'll give us our 5. So these are, how much do these cost right now? 17 divines. So our goal is to make 17 divines here. I don't think it's going to be a problem. But anyways, here are 5 different strategies that I've done. I want to keep this video short because I know YouTube, it's not the best format to have long videos. So we'll just jump right into it, guys. All right, so strategy 1, what we're going to be doing here is reforging fossils with harvest. What I did here was I spent exactly 2 divines on wild life force and 1 divine on metallics / jaggeds. Either one, they're the same ratio, 220 to 1 divine, and the wild life force is 10,500 to 1. I even actually downloaded Excellence. I don't think this is a very good app, by the way. Use it sparingly. Like most things, it should be a tool, but certainly shouldn't be your primary resource for valuations. It uses PoE Ninja data, which is a little outdated as well. You can see here when I look at it, it's giving us 2.6 divs because it's assessing the price based on the chaos values. Again, as I mentioned, we did spend exactly 3 divines. The reason I have the excellence is so we can just do a quick 1-to-1 right after. All right, let's get started. What we're looking for here is basically anything that is not on the top row of the fossils. Dense being somewhat of an exception because it is more expensive than the others. Not a very good start. Sometimes we go on cold streaks like this. But I don't think, with any reasonable size, 2 to 3 divines worth of rerolls, I've ever lost money here. All right. I can tell you off the jump, again, the dense fossils are the best targets, but they are better than the 220 to 1 ratios. And this is just sort of showing, again, the impotence of... This is actually saying we lost money, which is patently false. And I'll show you why. All right, dense fossils. 125 to 1. Guttering, 32 to 1. Fundamentals, 40 to 1. Etheric, 60 to 1. Bound fossils, 65 to 1. Serrateds, 36 to 1. That means that we have 0.66 divines, 1.66, 2.16, 2. 3, 3 1/3. 3.6. And then half there, 4.1. So this tab has 4.1 divines in it roughly right now. Again, we started off with 3. This is not a very good outcome. So I will grab some stuff I haven't reserved here, just so we can roll over that. Again, dense fossils are a little bit more valuable. If you take a look at, say, something like Jaggeds, you can see they're at least 200 to 1, as opposed to 130-ish, roughly. And this is one of the worst results I've ever had with this. Kind of crazy, actually. Anyways, the point of this, again, I did want to do this video live because I feel like one of the problems with YouTube in general is that people will, you know, set up ideal conditions, and it's a little difficult to know whether or not it's replicable, or, you know, if it's something that has been set up with perfect conditions. There's a pretty good outcome right there. I get 15 perfect fossils. These are rather useful. There we go. There's another half divine. Actually, it's about 0.6 divines. All right. So, oh shit, I put the, I put about 80 fossils in there. Anyways, we ended up with about 2 divines worth of dents, 2.6 divines, 3.1 divines, 3.7 divines. I'm sorry, how much are bounds again? 3.74, 4.6, yeah, 4.6-ish, 5.1. So about 5.1 divines we ended up with there, starting with 3. Again, this was a rather small sample size. I don't actually need too many of these right now. I just wanted to demonstrate it. But this is one thing that I was doing, not only to support the fossil, like to generate fossils that I needed for the crafts you'll see coming up, but also just to sell and flip in of themselves, because again, it's really, really difficult with these reforges to lose money. And what's great about it too is that fossils are not something that's reforged very commonly. You know, things like delirium orbs and scarabs are done quite a bit. Fossils, not so much. And also, you know, anything that's very liquid that you can compound very quickly, the compounding rate of return on something that these will be able to sell, especially in larger quantities, you know, in about 10 minutes. And so the fact that we just made about 5 divines from a 3 divine investment on something we can do immediately right in our own hideout, and we can move it that quickly, you're talking about a 60% return, you know, an ROI there. That you can compound every 10 minutes. That means, you know, if you have 10 divines, 10 minutes later you got 16. 10 minutes after that, you've got, what would that be, 9.6, 25. You know, 10 minutes after that, you've got, 37, 38. So it's like you just turned 10 divines into 38 divines, you know, in a period of half an hour. Let's say you spend 10, 15 minutes buying the actual fossils for divines that you need to reroll with. But regardless, you can see the incredible power of that. And that's a great aspect of things that are incredibly liquid, stuff like currency items or crafting items in general. Now, I find that to be rather tedious in terms of interacting with players that often, but it is a great way to generate your own fossils if you want to minimize your trading. And that's going to bring us to strategy number 2. This is one I've been doing for a long time. I've actually written guides and videos on this before. But what we're going to do here is make some +2 amulets. And there's a variety of different ways to do that. Buying +1 amulets this league is a joke. You can actually, I've made a little master list here. +1 amulets with 1 prefix and 1 suffix. Depending on the amount of modifiers is going to depend on is going to change how we decide to go for the +2. So we have a few different styles here. This one is one that has the +1 with an open prefix and open suffix, but it has an elemental attack flat, right? This one here has just 1 open prefix and 1 open suffix, and this one right here has 2 open prefixes, but no open suffixes. And this one is one that I split, and that's one of the strategies you can do as well. You can buy 6 modded, you know, non-fractured, non-synthesized +1 amulets for literally 10 chaos. The split beasts, Fenimal Plague Dragon, 30 chaos. you're ending up with a +1 for you know for about 30C. And you can get them on good bases too. With respect to item level, generally speaking, you want to go for 82 and above. But if it's one where you're just going to augment, like YOLO augments, not that big of a deal. 82 is where you're going to get T1 attributes, as well as damage over time multiplier. If you just, or sorry, not attribute, yeah, attributes and damage over time multiplier. Damage over time multiplier specifically, if you do have that show up on one of your, there we go, sorry. If you have damage over time multiplier, I would definitely suggest either going for chaos damage or sorry, chaos gems or fire gems. It's also possible to go for cold gems, although chaos and fire are definitely a bit more popular. As you can see here, the dense fossils we just rolled, as I mentioned, they do have a better. You see, I'm selling it for 130 to 1 divine. As I mentioned, I paid 220 for the other top row ones. That's why I decided to hold on to these. It's not quite twice as good, but you know, that sold within about 3 minutes there, you can see. So a little proof of concept. And that, again, that was the least expensive of all the fossils we rolled into. So I'll get into the different styles of this, but I'll just do it live here. So this one, when you have a flat damage to attacks, so lightning damage to attacks, cold damage to attacks, or fire damage to attacks, what you're going to do is then get the corresponding gem type. Okay, so here we've got lightning damage. We're then going to just do prefixes can't be changed. 2 divines. Then we're going to come over here. This cost 1.4 divines, and this costs 80, 90 chaos, so about 0.3. So about 1.7 divines there, plus the 2. So that's 3.7, and then the cost of the amulet, 4. So we're at 4 divines, and this is a 100% guarantee. And there you go. We now have a +2 amulet with lightning damage to attacks, and we got our prefixes can't be changed. As you can see, bare minimum, we're looking at 5 divines there, but you should look closer because usually these ones are kind of pooched. Aspect of the spider, frenzy on kill. Not fantastic. What we're going to go for here instead, either you have the option, if you'd like to you can influence this still, if you'd like. You can, or you can, because it has prefixes can't be changed, you can you can exalt it, see what you get, and then maybe use a Veiled Chaos Orb, or you can go ahead and use a Reforge cast, or whatever you're looking for, Reforge crit. So when we take a look here, you can see they start off at 38. Yeah, that looks nice. So why don't we go ahead and try this out? Oh, okay, so that's not the mod I wanted to get there. So we're gonna go ahead. And we're looking at 10 divines now. So simply what we're doing there, what we're doing there is, you know, we're trying to get something like a percentage int that would that would add a ton of value because all instackers are using lightning skills or lightning damage or wrath reservation, really, or zealotry. There's a variety of different ones you can use, aside from Shaper and Elder, of course, because they don't have orbs. As well, you could again, you don't have to influence them at all. However, there's really no downside to it, so do so if you'd like. Again, the cost there, we were at 4 divines and we used 40 chaos for the orb. We already had the prefixes can't be changed, so it was 4 divines and 40 chaos. But what we did at the end there, and again, we didn't have a good outcomes. We hit crit chance instead of crit multi. Those are the only 2 options you can get with Reforged crit, and we also didn't get a good influence. And again, just simply by putting it as it is, we're going to end up with at least, it says 10 divines. I think 8 is probably a more conservative and fair expectation. And here we go with the we've made back our money now. I wouldn't normally be trading in the video like this. However, if we do get the currency to buy that last divine shard, oh my god, mirror shard, while live, I think that'd be kind of a fun thing. And as I said, I wanted to make sure that this wasn't edited or anything, just for transparency's sake. Anyways, so with this one here, again, we're going to, it does say 10 divines. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and put it at 8. So that's what you do when you get the flat damage to attacks. Now, the next style of amulets are going to be the ones here that have, they've just got the 1 open prefix and 1 open suffix. Now, with these ones, we're just going to craft can't roll attack mods. And what we're going to do here is just augment. When you have can't roll attack mods, all we have now is 1 open prefix. And so if you use the harvest, what it does is adds a mod, then it removes a mod. Since the only prefixes that are related to any kind of elemental type, so actually at Fizz, Chaos, but you shouldn't do Chaos, but Fizz, Fizz Gems, Lightning, Cold, or Fire Gems, any one of those is guaranteed to hit when you have 1 open prefix with your suffixes locked. Now, can't roll attack modifiers will take care of the gem. However, the removal of the mod comes afterwards. There's an order of operations for it. So because a mod is getting removed, that means that there is a 1 in 5 chance that it can remove all skills, right? However, the alternative to doing so is that you would have to do prefixes can't be changed. Typically, you're also going to have to do multi-mod and can't roll attack mods, depending what the other mods on the item are. But that's 5 divines worth of meta mods, right? Not to mention you also have to have 3 open suffixes, which in a lot of cases is also going to cost an additional 2 divines for prefixes can't be changed scour. So you're looking at between 5 to 7 divines just to get to that state. Whereas if you do it like this, you only have 1 divine of meta mod cost with an 80% success rate. Now you do have the additional cost of the life force. However, life force is relatively cheap in comparison. Life force is relatively cheap in comparison to the cost of the meta mods, especially this league. In previous leagues, specifically last league, obviously the cost of life force was significantly higher, and that obviously changes things. Before we actually go and augment that, again, all we have to do here is just come over. It is actually quite sensible for us to use fire damage on this one because it does have the fire skills. Actually, no, we'll just do it, whatever. We'll go ahead and use lightning just because I have the life force for it right now. It is, again, as I mentioned, an 80% success rate. Sometimes it fails, but this case it didn't. And look at that. It's too bad we didn't pick fire, though, because we would have had +2 with T2 spell damage and fire damage. This would have been good to go. That's a bit of a bummer, but no big deal. Oh, and we hit the cast speed. Oops, why am I putting attribute modifier? Silly James. And look at that. We now have 16% cast speed, 25 spell damage, +2. Fantastic. This one is going to have much more value. The other one, I believe. Trade at least. I think that was probably me putting it in tab by accident. Well, this guy is doing something wrong. I've got to think that this is a mistake. He's got Whispers of Doom with T1 spell damage. Friendly. This has got to be a mistake on his part. Anyways, aside from that, you can see there that it was... wow, you guys are retarded. I think he's just price fixing. You can see we're looking at 20 divines here. You can lower the spell damage value even to 15 maybe. Just go for the lightning skills. Again, still 20 divines. This is a really nice one, and again, the fire damage is a bit of a bummer. We can even ignore, again, we should try and look at all avenues. 14 divines. We can also go just take a look at the cast speed. And again, we're looking at 10, 13. This 8 divine one is mine. So I think we're looking at about... we want a quick return. Let's say 15. Let's say 18. Yeah, we'll make that one 9. So far on this one, we spent 50 chaos for the base. We spent 1 divine, so 1 divine, 1.2 divines. We then did 1.7, so 2.9, and an exalt, 2.3, and a bench punt. So 3 divines on this, 3 divines there. We spent 4 on that one. That's 7 divines total, and right there we've got 27. So there's 20 divines up. We are already. And then we've got this third one here. And the reason why I didn't buy Life Force for this one is because this is the third way we can do this. You see it has 3 suffixes and 1 prefix. And again, we do want to be able to roll, at the very least, other can't roll attack mods. Sometimes in some situations, we can also do prefixes can't be changed. Like Chaos, for example, the only Chaos tagged prefix is Chaos Gems. But what we're going to do here is just do prefix, add a prefix, remove a suffix. And because the reason why we kept the mana there is so that the prefix it adds cannot be mana. Because that's ain't nobody looking for that. And we got fizz damage to attacks. Not great, obviously. In a situation like this, what I might even consider doing is splitting it. And then we would move on to the next state. Again, you could just do the YOLO strategy that we just did there, but since it was already successfully done, I'll revisit this, but I think you guys understand. When you get them split like that, what you can do, Alt-Control-C, I'll show you a couple different strategies real quick on Craft of Exile. If you do suffixes can't be, you do go suffixes, crafted mods, and you can either do multi-mod, and then prefixes can't be changed, and then you go prefix side, and suffixes can't be changed, and then you can just go harvest reforge, so it's basically free because you're not paying for any of that. Reforge, boom, guaranteed +2 chaos, and you're going to maintain all of your mods. This is generally a good one to do when the cost of Life Force goes up, because the meta mods obviously have a static cost. This is obviously not one I would recommend necessarily doing right now. Okay, another way you can do this is go multi-mod, and then you can do, oops, I'm sorry. You go multi-mod, the prefixes can't be changed. Prefixes can't be changed, and then this is if you want fire, cold, or lightning. You then do the craft, the flat. So let's say you want cold, you put cold damage to attacks, okay? And then you go ahead and you harvest, add, remove, cold. And basically what this does is the cold damage to attacks is acting as a de facto can't roll attack mods. However, it's better because A, it doesn't cost a divine, and B, because you have prefixes can't be changed, it's now going to preserve your third prefix, which means you're going to have a +2 like this with a craftable prefix, right? Which means, and then because you have 3 suffixes, 66% of the time you're going to preserve your prefixes can't be changed. So what we're going to do here is now we can go, let's say we want Veiled Chaos Orb, right? We get the Veiled Chaos Orb, right? Guaranteed. Now we can switch our cold damage to attacks. Crafted mod there. We can use it to block and unveil that we don't want. So let's say we don't want to unveil a resistance modifier or whatever. Okay. Okay, now we get the power charge. Okay. And now we can go prefix. And we have our open prefix still because we had it protected with the cold damage to attacks, which means we can now go ahead and craft something, you know, much better, like let's say AoE, right? Bada boom, bada bing. You get that area of effect on there. Go ahead. You can either, you know, oops, shit. You could use an exalt, or you could go ahead and you could use a, you know, what is this, cold? So redeeming orb, damaging elements, great. And then you could beastcraft your final thing with, let's say, aspect of the cat. Boom. This would be probably worth 30, 40 divines. And again, it's something you can basically guarantee and protect just by using that little strategy there. So these are those are a few of the different ways that you can implement +2s. I make a great deal of money of this every league. Last league, I really kind of nailed this strategy on the head with the way the Calandra mechanic worked. It was just a, you know, a sensible thing to do. But I made well over 500 of these, and so there are a variety of different ways that you can do it. Again, it's purely on the basis of how the amulet presents itself when it's a +1. But this league, I really highly recommend taking a look at that because of how cheap Life Force is and because of how cheap the +1 amulets are. It's definitely a really good one, and they move quite quickly. All right, strategy 3. So the reason why we were rolling all that Life Force to begin with, what we're going to do here, I wrote down the names of the strats real quick. So strat 1 was the harvest fossil reforge. Strat 2 was the amulets. Strategy number 3, we're going to be looking at fractured one-handed weapons, and we're going to be trying to add +2 to these. So you can see there's a bunch of different types of fractures. We've got minion damage fracture. We've got spell skill gem type. So there's lightning skills, cold skills, fire skills. We've got things like T1 spell damage. And then we've also got ones here where I just purchased the spell skill and split it. So why don't we just do a variety of them here? We got I got different base types too, because it actually does make a difference whether or not it's a scepter or a wand or a dagger. They do have different modifiers. But let's go ahead. Cold damage to attacks. Every single one of these at its initial phase, however, is done the exact same way. And that is to use a all right. And that is to use these 4 fossils here. So we want to grab metallic fossils, shuddering fossils, corroded fossils, and jagged fossils, as well as the 4 socket resonator, of course. I already set up 20 of them just because I didn't want to make you guys watch me do that. And I got the reason why set up here. So you can see, for example, on wands, where we have the fractured cold spell skill damage, using this combination, we're talking about 4 resonators on average for a total cost of, this is saying 89 chaos orbs. That's not correct. Prime resonators are, they're about 40 chaos if you buy them by chaos. I bought them by divines just to save time, but let's say 45, meet halfway. And you can still see, though, it's about a divine on average to add it. If you were to take a look, the cheapest +2 wands or daggers, whatever, we'll show you when we hit one, but it's number 1. Getting a little unlucky here. But regardless, we can take a look here, because it does highlight the point. Bare minimum price we're looking for on a wand here, 4.55, 6 divines. Again, using that that 4 combination, it will on a wand take 4 on average. You know, we are using daggers and scepters that as well as the convoking wand, which do have separate odds. However, with that, you know, again, for this base it was about 20 chaos, and then again, 4 on average, about a divine. You're looking at about 3.5, 4 divine profit on average there. Not to mention you can definitely get quite a bit higher. This also has cast speed, which is actually quite good. Would have been better if it were lightning skills, but you can see 7 divines with the cast speed. When you do, the one thing with this, when you are using this 4 mod combination, you're pretty much always going to end up with spell damage as a 3rd prefix, unless it's a scepter, in which case you will end up with +2 to melee gems as your 3rd prefix, which is okay because you can then use can't roll caster mods and annul that off if you'd like. However, you're almost always going to end up with 6 socket or 6 mods total, so you are going to have to annul on some ones if you want to get the max value. But again, if you're not really concerned with you know, the full time, like, you know, squeezing every penny out of it and maxing them, that's not a big deal. So just for the sake of time here, because I can see this video is running a little bit long, you can see here on the scepter, this has phys damage to attack, or sorry, physical damage situation I just spoke about. So we, on this one, instead of doing the gems, we decided to fracture the by the spell damage fracture. And so what you can do on this one is do can't roll caster mods, because you can see we've got that pesky fizz there. And look at that. We removed the shitty suffix, and we removed the shitty prefix, and we kept the T1 multi. So what we can do now is we just have to do prefixes can't be changed and augment physical, and the or sorry, we have to do prefixes can't be changed if we want to guarantee protect the spell skill gem. If we want to protect the spell skill gems, you want to have prefixes can't be changed. If you don't really care about that because it's not too hard to reroll, you can just sort of YOLO augment it. And I have another one actually set up where we can do that. However, in this case, it is a bit of a bummer to do this. Too bad we didn't get rid of it. You can just do the annul there, or you can do prefixes can't be changed scour. Because there's 2 prefixes, it will remain rare. Then you just do multi-mod, prefixes can't be changed, can't roll attack mods, and augment fizz, and that will guarantee the +2 with the spell damage. When you get into a range like this, you're talking about 35 divines at a bare minimum. And so, again, the cost to make one of those on average is not terribly high. This one right here, great example. So you can see here, this one, basically the same state. However, this one, we got rid of that suffix. So from here, you would do, you just go on over to the bench, and you go suffixes, crafted mods, 3 crafted mods, prefixes can't be changed, can't roll attack mods, and then you go harvest, augment, fizz, and you are guaranteed, as you can see, to end up with a +2 with spell damage. I was able to buy, if you look at this one, this is a perfect runic, 109% spell damage, implicit, fracture, with, for this was 1.5 divines. This one was, I think, 75 chaos or something. Absolutely ludicrous, the stuff you can get. As well, you can also just go for one that is not fractured. So there's an example end state right there. But I also have one here. And so when I talked about earlier, I was saying you could also just sort of YOLO go for it. The way that works would be you get something like this. You go can't roll attack modifiers. Then you're going to go ahead and exalt it. Where I had those exalts. And then sorry, I forgot to grab the life force here. We're then going to grab sorry for the little delay here. Anyways, I guess it's not that terribly important. I can just do it on the emulator. It's tough getting people to answer. We'll go restart. So what's going to happen here is you are going to be guaranteed to get these physical gem skill. However, similar to the amulet, it will have a potential to remove the spell skill gems. So harvest, physical, and in that case, it removed it. Classic. There you go. Did not remove it. And now, even if you have a shitty third prefix, which we do here, right? Because we had can't roll caster mod, or sorry, because we put it so with the exalt prior to can't roll attack mods, you're either going to end up with you're either going to end up with a damaging mod, so you know, lightning damage to spells, whatever. And if that happened prior to, you could actually change it, and you don't have to go for physical gems. Like for example, if I had exalted lightning damage to flat spells, I would then go for a +2 lightning, because the only alternative, after you have lightning damage flat, the only other two things it can hit are +1 to lightning gems or lightning percentage. But lightning percentage is not a caster mod, which means you can forcibly remove it, which is what we would then do here, right? So we would then switch this to crafted, cannot roll. Can't roll caster mods. Switch that off to an annul. And there you go, bada boom, safe. And if, you know, after that, you could then, you know, redeeming orbit. Sorry, you would protect your, first you would fix in your prefix, so, you know, you could do prefixes can't be changed. Let's say you wanted the chaos damage. I know you would never really want chaos damage there. If you did get the chaos damage, you would use hunter modifier. If you're ever in a situation, by the way, where you get an unveil that is the third mod and you don't want it, so just pick one that is not spell based. So here, like attacks with this weapon, right? If it gives you a prefix that you don't want, or an unveil you don't want, rather, because that way you can just do can't roll caster mods and remove it again. You can do the same thing on synthesis bases. You can do it on, there you go, synthesis bases. You can do it with influence bases, whatever it is. This tech is solid. Now again, the amount of rabbit holes you can go down with respect to these is pretty crazy. So I won't go too far down that. There's tons of different ways to implement it. However, you know, the ceiling is very, very high on them. An example of a near finished one. I did this. This is one of the ones I thought would be interesting for you guys. So what happened here was I found the alternating scepter got posted with +1 spell skill gems, but it was like 6 mods and they were all garbage. I paid 60 chaos for it or some shit like that. So I split it to isolate the spell damage away from a suffix so that I could do can't roll caster mods, which is how we got it here. Right, and then I ended up with 1 prefix, 1 suffix, which was intelligence, and then I had crafted mana because it had 1 open prefix prior to the split. So I just removed the crafted mana, or sorry, no, I kept the crafted mana, and then I did suffix to prefix because I didn't want the prefix to be mana. And then when I moved suffix to prefix, it ended up hitting T1 lightning damage to spells, as you can see here. I then added the physical, because I didn't have any, I had 3 open suffixes. I just did that same thing. Prefixes can't be changed, multiple mods, can't roll attack mods, augmented fizz. So that's at the state it was now. I then used a redeeming orb. As you can see, we hit cast speed if you have hit recently. if you've killed recently. And now we've still got prefixes can't be changed and 3 mods. So what I would do now is go get a farm a T4 Ashling, 66% chance for success to remove one of those two. Ideally, we'd get cast speed with Arcane Surge, and then we just bench the last one, and you'd be looking at somewhere around 100, 120 divines for this, with the total cost around maybe 20 to 22. As it sits right now, it's going to be just with these 3 on that basis alone. Yeah, you're looking at about 50 divines. And again, suffixes you can change. I could also do Reforge Caster here, or you could, just change up the influence as much as you'd like. Now, one of the other ones too these scepters, you can do it scepters, wands, daggers, whatever. There's a variety of different implementations. Again, lightning skills, fire skills, cold skills. I do recommend mixing it up. But this one is probably the quickest seller and one of the easier ones to do, and that's going to be a minion damage wand. It's the same combination. All right, we officially are in the profit now from the strategy number 1. With the minion damage ones, convoking ones are actually their entire base type, so it is actually different. But with these ones here, what we're going to be looking for is the fractured minion damage, and we're actually going to be trying to hit not only +1 all skills, but also minion skills. We didn't end up getting it there. But just in case that happened, I did actually set up a couple of them. You can see here, this is how it'll end up. It's a 1 in 12 to hit both minion spells, minion skill gems, and spell skill gems. So in that case, you don't even have to use the harvests. You're gonna have +2 plus whatever your fracture is. On this one, I got a 98% fracture for 2 divines. On this one, 74. This cost me 70 chaos. This one cost me 170 chaos. And again, the 12 of those is going to cost you about 3 divines. So you're looking at about 3.5 to 4 divines all in. Quite often, you're going to end up in a situation like this where you have your suffixes filled out. But because you have so many of these things blocked, it is very... As you can see here, so this is a Convoking Wand using that same 4-mod combo. The only potential items possibilities you have you can see minion damage and spell damage, which are mutually exclusive. And since we have that fractured, the only 2 potential things we can actually hit are minion and spell skills. So you can see that's a 1 in 12. And then suffix wise, we take a look over here. We're going to be hitting any combination of these. So quite often you are going to have these minion modifiers. On both of these ones here, I did this right before. This one has attack and cast, multi, and a really high minion crit chance, as well as 99. This one has a really nice high minion attack and cast speed, nice high crit, and that. Now, the one thing I will say is that you will be able to sell these quicker if you have an open suffix, so that you can do the crafted June mod. This one here, trigger when you use a spell skill. It'll add about 2 divines, 3 divines of value. As well, they'll move quite a bit quicker. To do that, you're almost always going to have to annul for it. So you have 5 mods potentially to remove. So for example, in this case, there's 3 suffixes, 2 prefixes. You just don't want to lose the 2 prefixes. So it's a 60% chance for that annul to hit. I would base that decision based on what your suffixes are. So in these cases, we have a lot of minion ones, which are already quite good, despite the fact it doesn't have the trigger. But if this had, say, you know, we can take a look here. If it just had like attack speed, life gain on kill, and dot multi or something like that, that wasn't useful. That's one where I would take that risk. Now we can go ahead here. So for the minion damage, just for the +3, we can see the bare minimum here is 15 divines. But if you then throw in, you know, the minion multi, we're looking at 40 divines. Take that away, minion cast speed, 18 divines. So it's significant. And that's again without the attack, or that's without the June trigger mod. As well, it's also not considering when I looked on this one, for example, this actually has 98 and it's only showing 80. You know, if we up that to 95, you know, we're looking at 20 divines plus, and again, throw that in there, 40, 45 divines. So very high. Again, what the spend was on this, 1 in 12, which is 3 divines on average, plus this one was 2 divines. So this cost 5 divines to make. This one cost about 3.5. And again, the minimum on this one with the lower minion damage is a bare minimum of 12, and then we've got upwards of 25. The 15 divine one is the one I just posted myself. So between those two, you know, we're profiting. We're profiting in the range of, you know, 50 to 60 divines. Now, those were both pretty good outcomes. As you saw here, we didn't end up hitting that one. We actually got rather unlucky there, considering the fact that we used, what was it, 30 total, and we only hit +1 on one of them. But again, RNG comes and goes. As well, the fractures do slightly influence the total outcomes. However, I think you guys are getting the spirit of it. It's there are a variety of ways in which you can implement this, and almost a nearly infinite way, in fact. I would say that the minion damage ones are the ones historically that I have the easiest time selling. However, in terms of just the quickness, the reliability, and the lack of variance, wands are going to be very easy to hit, because wands are the wands don't have the percent. So here, sorry, I'll just show you here. Craft the Exile. When you look at wands, you don't have to deal with the light. You can see here, using the 4 mod combo here, we don't have to worry about anything else. The only potential outcomes are spell skills and spell damage. Whereas if we're to take this over to a scepter, you still got melee skill gems. But when we talk about augments too, there's a, you know, you can see here that it's a 1 in 11, whereas with the wand, we're looking at a 1 in 4, and then when you deal with convoking wand, a 1 in 9. Oh, sorry, that's just for spell skills. For minion skills, 1 in 12, as I mentioned. So 1 in 4 for the wands, 1 in 12 for the convoking wands, and 1 in 11 for the scepters. And that's just, so for the minion ones, it's for the +2 completely. And then for the wand and for the scepter, we're just talking about the +1 spell skills. So if you have the fire skills fractured, that's obviously different. But then you can also, again, you can go for the fractured, spell damage, or you can go for whatever fracture you're looking for, or you can just forego the fracture, as I did with that other one, and go for the influence mod. In particular, if you're going for Fizz, you having the hatred, because Fizz is almost always going to have, not almost always, but quite frequently it will be converted to some type of thing where you can have, you know, it's going to be some kind of, you know, Blade Vortex or something like that, where they're going 100% Fizz to Cold conversion, or EK, where they're converting to Fire and using Ignite, or they're going to have, you know, Fizz converted to Chaos and do Poison scaling. But being able to use an influenced suffix on those is always quite powerful. So, you know, you don't always have to use the fractured method. Again, doing it like this is completely fine and great as well. But you can see there, this is more of a higher end thing. These aren't things that I would do necessarily if I'm looking for a one-day turnaround, but the margins on these are absolutely massive. So again, the video here is to cover the things that I've been doing over the course of the week. You know, the last video I did was things that are very quick. The anomalous tornado shot, whatever. This is a bit more, not higher level crafting per se, especially the minion wand. All you're doing is buying a fracture and hitting a fossil until you hit the +2 and you're pretty much done. It's not like that's very difficult, but again, when you talk about things like this where you're layering on levels of augments and influences and reforges, obviously that does have a higher spend on the crafting side, but it does have a higher return. So risk reward, you can analyze that as you wish. These +2s, these are very easy, very quick. These will sell usually within 1 to 2 days at most. These ones I would say are between, you know, the scepters and daggers are between, I would say, 2 and 3 days on average. The minion wands, generally same day. Strategy 1, that's an instant return. And then again, there's different ways to implement this as well. You can, I would say, navigate this yourselves. I don't want to go into too much detail about it and not give it away, but again, the tech is there and hopefully understand. The next one, this is one I talk about on the stream all the time. This is like a bread and butter for me. Very easy to calculate. All we're doing here is taking serrated fossils on a single chaotic resonator, or single resonators. But then we're item level restricting a cluster jewel. For this one, it's 8 passive, 10% attack. So we're going to go ahead and go cluster jewel, large cluster, 10% attack. And this is used by pretty much every bow build. We're going for feed, fuel, and martial. If you look on a max level, it's going to cost you 172 fossils. However, look what happens if we item level restrict it to 67, 54 fossils. The reason for that is because it removes Devastator and Vicious. So that obviously makes the cost 1/3 of it. This league, again, as I mentioned, fossils are readily available and they're quite cheap. Serrated fossils is about 1.5 divines in serrated fossils and about 0.4 divines. So this is about 2 divines total cost here. However, this league as well, you also have a third out, which is Calamitous. In past, like last league, this wasn't really popular, but if you add Calamitous, will sell for 2 divines. Feed, fuel, martial will sell for 4. If you add Calamitous to it, it becomes a 1 in 37. So that changes the average cost to 1.3 divines. The bases are really what's the variable that matters at this stage in the league. These cluster bases, when they're item level restricted, you can literally get hundreds of them for 1 chaos to 5 chaos for the first like 2 weeks of the league. I usually stock up on like hundreds of them because like literally I've been doing this for like 8 leagues, and it's a very reliable way. The next thing, there you go, look at that, sells as I'm talking about it. This cluster base right here that I purchased right before starting the stream was 140 chaos. So given that we said it was on average, I think 1.3 divines, 140 chaos would be about what, that would put our average craft to about 2 divines, and that means that, you know, we've got a 2 divine profit window there. And because it's a 1 in 54, that's just using the fossils, by the way, right? It does not include the fact that you can then exalt and annul. In past leagues, it never would have been worth it because obviously exalts were the primary currency. So, you know, YOLO exalting wasn't really a thing. But also annuls were like 8 to 1. This league, 45 to 1, and exalts at certain points are like 15 to 1. And so you can use them much more readily. So in this case, even though it's just a 54 to 1 and you can do the math on that basis alone, as sort of like a way to hedge whether or not it's worth the risk, when you then factor in your capacity to exalt on top of that, it becomes plain as day that it generally is going to be worth it. I don't think I need to go into this one too much. I imagine most of you guys probably know this tech. That's something I've been covering for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of other content creators have as well. but it's a very easy one to do. In the past 5 minutes, I actually sold, look at that, it's 53. Yeah, in 8 minutes, I sold 7.5 divines worth of them. So these ones, literally, you could sell 20 of these a day. The way you want to calculate it again, as a way to hedge the risk, check the cost of the base, and then 54 fossils and resonators. But keep in mind, you can also annul and exalt. The things you should be annulling for, the best option is if you have feed and marshal with one suffix, and so you're exalting an open prefix to exalt for fuel. That's your best odds. You can also exalt for feed in a similar situation if it's fuel and feed or mix or swap. And personally, I also will exalt for marshal in a situation like this. So, where'd it go? There we go. Where I have, again, feed the fury, fuel the fight, and then one suffix. I will exalt in this situation because even though marshal is not that common to hit, if you annul it after, you have a 50-50 to annul off a suffix, which means you can just kind of chain it together. It depends on the price of exalts because those are the variable that's kind of changing. Annuls are so cheap this league, those are almost negligible cost wise. But when you implement, when you consider that too, the fact that you can use the exalts and the annuls, it really is super, super profitable. I tend to batch craft these, so I'll do like 5 or 10 of them at a time with like an entire tab of resonators, say fit like 30 exalts and 40 to 50 annulments, and I generally end up making about 20 to 30 divines in about 30 minutes. And again, those sell very quickly. And the last one here, this is a very quick one. This is something I've just been doing sort of passively, kind of for lulls to begin with, but all I'm doing here, guys, you don't have to necessarily use this fracture, but 3% mana reservation efficiency. I've been able to, I got like 30 of these for between 40 and 60 chaos. And then you just come here and reforge life. And literally, these will sell for 1 to 2 divines, absolutely no problem. Damage over time. Reforging life on this, you're going to have to use like 3 or 4 reforges at most. Life is most common on crimsons in terms of weightings, then on viridians, then on cobalts. But it's super easy. This is not restricted, obviously, to this mod. You can do this with pretty much anything. Look for a good damage mod or a good universal mod, and then just reforge life or reforge chaos, reforge crit, whatever it is. Super easy to roll these. And you can make, like, they buy 10 of them, 30, 40 chaos each, pop them up for 1 to 2 divines. It's not a huge bank breaker, but I'd say passively, like 10 divines a day probably gets from those 10, like profit 10 to 15 divines. And again, it takes like literally no time, very, very low upfront cost. So with respect to what we actually did on stream today, or on this video, not stream, gotta remember that this is for the YouTubes. We are talking about, what do we say here? So this one was 27 divines, and we spent 7. That's plus 20 divines there. We hit the plus 1 dagger here, which was I think this was what, 7 divines, and we got these big boys too. That I'm not going to bother finish these for the video. We hit both of these guys. The net profit on these would have been about 40 or 50 divines. This one will be about 30 divines. These guys need to be finished still, but they'll end up being about 10 or 15. For what was in this tab, the total cost was roughly, actually I have it written down exactly. We had 30, the fossils we generated ourselves through the method that I did initially. And then we paid, let's see, 4 socket resonators were 5 to 1. So we spent 6 divines. And then the bases were probably another 2 or 3. So there was about 8 divines worth of spend in there. Again, the fossils were purely profit because I created them myself. So that was not a cost there. So 8 divines, and again, from that, we cover cost on the one wand that hit the +2, and we got very unlucky. As I mentioned, the odds on those were 1 in 4, 1 in 11, 1 in 12, and we only hit 1 in 30. No big deal. Again, the margins on those are absolutely massive. If you're gonna try this one, guys, don't do tons of these, especially if you're just getting started. They don't move super quick. And again, there's so much variance, and you have to understand different builds and what they want specifically, and what base weapons, and there's definitely some depth to it. However, I would recommend if you're going to start this out for the first time, just try getting a fractured +1 gem and then throw on the spell damage to make a +2. You're gonna like again, it's gonna take you a couple divines at most to make it, and you're gonna make 3 or 4 divines, and you'll get more comfortable from it that way. Obviously, anyone can do the strategy 1 with the fossils. The amulets really solid there too. The wands are fantastic. The convoking ones super easy. Although if you want to sell it quickly, I would try to annul off your suffix. And then when you talk about scepters, and when you get to a phase where you have to augment, I would stay away from that if you have a bit deeper pockets, because the variance and the cost is going to be quite a bit higher. The fossils, anyone could really do that. Again, super quick, super liquid. Really enjoy that one. And this one, they don't sell quickly, but the margins are fucking insane. 2 divines is 500 chaos. We're talking about a 50 chaos base. The base on this is probably a bit more expensive now, specifically. So let's see. 75 chaos. No, not even bad. 75 chaos. Again, Reforged Life, 5 chaos at most. And again, so we're 80 chaos total. And we're getting 500 at the very least to get 1 divine. So that's 300% per turn. And yeah, so this was, I would say that this probably accounted for 2 or so mirrors of what we were talking about. But 600 divines I've made off of over the course of the week off of the fossils, rerolls, the wands, convoking especially, probably close to 100 divines, 200 divines just on the cluster jewels, and this was probably maybe 30 or 40 divines, that little strat there. And the +2 amulets, maybe another 50 to 75 divines, although I could definitely pump more of those out. So I know this video still ran long. I was actually trying to be really short here. I guess I don't have that capacity. Hopefully this is enjoyable for you guys. And oh my god, look at this. We have enough. What a way to end the video, boys. I forgot. I hadn't been paying attention to how much stuff we were selling, but fantastic. I guess it was serendipitous that I talked that long, because we now have enough money to complete our challenge. I know this is running long, and I'm sure the YouTube algorithm won't like it, but I think it's important that there's transparency in these things, and I know editing is good for YouTube length and for on the creator side for advertising, whatever, but I do think that things can seem somewhat disingenuous at times when it's constantly being cut. You don't really know what's actually going on. So hopefully that, for those of you that stuck around and watched this, it was helpful. And I'll try to be a bit more brief in the future. I just thought that, this would be kind of cool. Anyways, guys, it's now 11 p.m. on Friday evening for myself. And where's that? Yeah, 11/11. I started this Monday. This is day 5. And bang! 5 mirrors, boys. 5 mirrors, 5 days, done within the calendar day. Most of this time, again, I was actually sort of semi-AFK. And again, we do actually have, an additional, 27. There's probably a mirror worth there. Plus, another mirror there. I probably actually will end up with 7.5 mirrors by the time everything that I did over the week sells. But again, when you have things that are quite high in margin, it becomes a snowball effect where, you craft one thing that pays for their next 3 crafts. Then you sell 2 things of those 3 crafts, and that pays for 6. And, that cascades. And eventually you come to a point where you can just sort of sit there, spend as much money as you want, and it all just comes in. So, I'm really cool. That was actually a cool way to end the video. I just want to say for a sec really quickly that, I was pretty bummed out myself when I got banned from Twitch. That was kind of tough to deal with because I put a lot of hours and effort into that. I wasn't nearly expecting the response rate that I've had on YouTube, so I just wanted to thank everyone for that support. It took me 6 years to get 7,000 followers on Twitch, and in a day and a half I had 2,300 followers on YouTube. So that was a meaningful moment for me. So I'm glad that this stuff is resonating with you guys. I know that I'm not really good at editing and stuff. I will get better at it, but hopefully the content is useful, and I'll keep the videos coming. I got lots more to share. So 5 mirrors, 5 days. Belton out. Peace, lads.